All right, welcome everybody to our session today with Duc Abraham, who is the Executive Director at the Asian Pacific American Chamber of Commerce. And we've invited Duc because we wanted to, one, honor the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and also have Duc tell her story of perseverance. And so in conversation with Duc recently, I learned that she has an amazing story that has brought her to where she is today. And I think it would be great for you to share your story, Duc, not only from the sense of perseverance, but also I remember one thing that really stuck with me when we last talked, and that was when you said, every time it seems like the world is ending, it's actually the beginning of something new.
Yes,
And I think
absolutely.
that's a very deep statement, and I think it couldn't be more true than it is today with us being in this pandemic and having to adjust and be agile and all of that. And so I think your story would be great if you could share that with us and our audience today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a Vietnamese refugee. So I'm a refugee of the Vietnam War. So 45 years ago, the fall of Saigon happened. My dad came home from service and told my mom to pack the kids and that they were leaving. So my mom, I was only 5 weeks old, newborn baby. My mom swaddled me in a blanket and safety pinned the blanket to her shirt. She packed 2 bags, little plastic bags, 1 bag of clothes and 1 bag of noodles. And they ran, literally ran to the coast. So as they were approaching closer to the beach, as they're on the beach, my mom gets pushed over and people start stampeding on her. And so she's trying to do a push-up because I'm safety pinned to her shirt. And every time somebody steps on her back, she dips into the water. And she does a push-up to keep me above water, to keep me from drowning. And she screams. And throughout all the chaos and all the other screaming, somehow my dad heard her, found her, lifted her up, and put her on this boat. It was a small fishing boat. My family was on this boat for 3 days, 3 nights. The boat did not work. It floated in international waters. The only thing that worked on this boat was a radio, and they radioed SOS. My mom said that on that 3rd day, people are dying of dehydration, no food, no water. The sun beaming down, and she felt at that moment that this is it. This is the end. We're going to die this way. And the second she thought that, this huge shadow came over them, and it was a ship from Denmark. And it cast a big shadow on them, and the Denmark ship heard the SOS. They were on their way home, and they heard the SOS, and they turned the ship around, and they found us, and they saved us. That ship took us to a refugee camp in Hong Kong. We were in that refugee camp for quite some time. And eventually a church from Michigan, Pontiac, St. Vincent de Paul, came and sponsored us. So as a refugee, you need a sponsor to come to the US. And they sponsored us, and they brought us to Michigan, or we followed them to Michigan. They sponsored us to come to the US, but my dad decided that we would follow them to Michigan. So Father Thomas helped us find a place to live, and we lived in a little townhouse behind Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak. I remember when I was very little, I remember little church ladies coming to teach us how to speak English. They didn't speak Vietnamese. We didn't speak English. We came to the US. We didn't speak the language. We had no money. We had nothing. I think my dad had $12 to his name, and he spent it on cigarettes. And my mom knew that, she felt like this is, again, like we have no friends, we have nobody to help us. We had, we didn't speak the language. People would make fun of us. There was so many things that we had to start all over again. You
Mm.
know, we didn't have anything that we had in Vietnam, and we had to start all over again. Again, it felt like the world has ended. And my mom, though, she knew how to hustle. She knew how to work hard. And she knew that she had to. She felt like it wasn't even a choice. It wasn't even a choice for her. She's like, I have kids. By this time, she had 3 kids, and she was pregnant with my brother. And so my mom would go to the motels on Woodward and knock on the manager's door and say, I will clean the rooms for you. So she would clean the rooms after people check out, and they would pay her. Eventually, she got a job at a dry cleaner. And in the dry cleaner, she would do alterations or fix the wedding dresses after people wear the wedding dresses and they get them dry cleaned so that they can store it. So my mom would fix the beads, the lace, whatever broke or whatever got broken. And eventually, it started there, and eventually she opened up her own bridal salon. So, you know, it starts somewhere and it leads to somewhere. She raised 7 kids. I was the first of the 7 to graduate from college with no student debts, no student loans. And I now work as the executive director for the Asian Pacific American Chamber of Commerce. So, you know, I think that we're all very successful, all 7 of us kids, you know, doing our own things. My sister is a writer. I have a brother that's an orthopedic surgeon. I have a brother that is a stem cell researcher, you know, so we're all in our own little ways. We're all doing our own things. We're all over the US, California, Florida, Arizona, Utah. And so it's great where we are now. And I feel that sometimes when you wake up and it's another day and you're stuck at home and you know, you do feel like it is the end of the world. How is it ever going to be normal again? It probably won't. It's probably never going to be normal again. And you're going to have to find a way to get beyond this, but it's going to be better because of it. You now have different opportunities. You're going to hustle, you're going to work hard, and you're going to find something else, and things are going to come for you because that's how the world happens. This is how it works. When you feel like this is the end, it's really the beginning.
I love that. It's such a deep story. And, you know, with your background and having had to persevere in this fashion, how do you feel like that is helping you now during this pandemic? I mean, how do you feel?
I, you know, there are days, you know, I grew up very sheltered and privileged. So you know, I'm very lucky. My mom worked very hard to give me the opportunities that I had. I did not have to struggle like her. I grew up, I learned English and Vietnamese. I'm bilingual. So, you know, I understood both. I grew up in a very great neighborhood where they were very accepting of me. So you know, I was very lucky.
Mm.
But I do feel that there are times where I wake up and I feel like, you know, you're depressed, you're crying, you don't get to go hug your friends, you don't get to see people. It's difficult to do business when you can't network, and the opportunities to meet and actually connect with people, it's a lot harder. But I feel like if that's my biggest struggle, I can handle this. I can handle this. Again, it's just knowing that other people are going through the same thing I am.
Right.
There are people that are going through the same thing I am. There are people that are struggling worse than I am. And I know that, you know, my mom did it. You know, she did it without speaking the language. She did it without having friends. she did it while people were telling her she couldn't do it. So, you know, I have a very supportive family. I have great friends. I have people that believe in APAC and what we do and are very supportive of the Asian Pacific American community and the business community, and
Right.
are very supportive of our members. So, you know, it's easier for me to really think about all of the blessings, all the things that we do have, than all the things that we don't have. You know, not being able to go into the office. Um, does that really compare to all of the great things that I've listed? No, it doesn't. So it's so much easier to move on and work. And I know that, hey, if I work hard now, at the end of this, it's going to be something great.
Right. I think it has also really forced us to communicate in different ways. You know, prior to this, it was optional if we wanted to be on video or not. I mean, now with
Right.
meetings not taking place in person and us not being able to network physically, seeing each other, I think people are craving that attention and that connection in other ways. And so, you know, Zooming and video conferencing, I think has become almost the new normal. And so now when I get an invite to a call or a meeting, you know, it's almost weird when it's not on video, right? Because we're
Right.
so used to this now over the past 2 months. And so I'm curious to see how that is going to change moving forward. But like you said, you know, it could be much worse, and you are in a positive space. And I think having that positive mindset is half of the work. And so with your work now
I
that you
think that, like you said, you know, Zoom gives you a lot of opportunities. I think it's very true. I think that even if we have events in the past, people are like, oh, if you're holding it in Grand Rapids, we won't come from the Detroit area. Or if those people in the Detroit area, we have an event at the Detroit area, those in Grand Rapids are like, oh, okay, we'll wait until you have an event here. It doesn't matter now. Though, no matter where we have that event, we'll have, you know, all of our constituents there. People have that opportunity to really roll out of bed and get on a Zoom meeting. So you're also taking those opportunities where there are certain meetings that you might not have gone to, where you're like, you know what, this doesn't quite apply there. You know, I think there's some stuff that might apply to me here, but you know, I'm not going to go. I'm not. It's not worth the 2-hour drive, or you know, that that effort to go out there. Now you just roll out of bed and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do 4 Zoom meetings today, and I'm gonna learn some new stuff. And then when you do, you meet new people as well, and
yeah
you realize, okay, that, you know, some stuff that they said, really, I could really apply. This makes sense. I'm glad I heard that. You know, now I'm going to apply this to what I'm doing now. I made this new connection. I'm gonna connect with them on LinkedIn. You know, look them up and be like, okay, you know, I heard you talking during this Zoom meeting, and I really wanted to connect. Maybe we can have coffee over Zoom. And it's great that way. I think that, yes, we are finding new opportunities and new ways to connect, and it might even be easier, even for those that are socially awkward, or have social anxiety when they go to big events, to connect with people. I think this is a great opportunity to make those connections now.
Yeah, I think so too. And so as we get close to the end of our conversation, I'd really love to know one more thing. And so how is your work at APAC? How has that been affected through your story? Do you feel like in your current position, you are able to give back to your community on a larger scale?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that right now, well, with a lot of our members, we've been feeling the effects since December,
Hmm.
because a lot of our members do have connections and offices and work through countries in Asia, China, Japan, and Korea, and stuff like that. So they've been feeling those effects then. So I think that, knowing and working with companies that have been dealing with this since December, we kind of know what to expect. it's really difficult though also as well, because even if you do know what to expect, or uh, things change so quickly. You could be planning in on Monday, and by Thursday, you know, different executive orders come out, different things change, and then all of a sudden you can't do those things anymore. And it's a lot of it is a waiting game. You
Mhm.
know, I think that people we're waiting around for things to stabilize, and now that they're stabilizing, they're working on recovery, and once recovery is done, they're going to work on thriving again. So this is where we are. We're at the point of thrive and recover, or and what does that look like, and how does that look like if things start to open? How are we going to start to open with the new changes? What does that look like? How are we going to reach out to our consumers? How are we going to make connections with buyers? How are we going to, you know, our resources are now different. How are we going to tell the buyers that this is our resources? And buyers even as well, they're like, what we need now is different because our focus is different. It's shifted. We've pivoted, and now these are the new things that we need. Those are what we're focusing on now. We're still focusing on making those connections between the U.S. based companies and the Asian based companies. We're still working on relationships and sharing what our members and our network have pivoted to. What's their new normal, and that's what we're working on. And um, I think that it really is. I feel like my job is easy, and the reason I feel that is because I'm getting support from different avenues. I'm getting support from my sponsors. I'm getting my support from the US based companies. I'm getting my support from the Asian based companies. So I think that, yes, we're all feeling very, we feel anxiety. We feel anxiety because we don't know where it's going. But I think a lot of us also feel that it's going to, it's going to work out. So there's this positive feeling like we don't know what it looks like, but it's going to work out.
It's almost about the fact of embracing the uncertain.
Yes. It's hard though. It
Yeah,
is. I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to sugarcoat that because it
yeah,
is
for
difficult.
sure.
You know, even if you think you're being positive every day, sometimes, you know, right in the middle of that positivity, this negative feeling hits you and you're like, oh God, we're never going to be able to do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you know, you move on and you find find new things to focus on.
Right, right. Yeah, thank you so much, Duke, for your time today and for your message and sharing your story. I know it's very special to you and it means a lot, and so I really appreciate you sharing that with our audience and making time for us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Thank you for having me.